Yes, we were talking a bit about the political side of drag, which is something I hadn't even considered since I saw it. It's your final soliloquy which sort of set me off thinking about it.
I think when you do a drag show, I mean, I've been doing drag since I was 17 years old, and this year I'm 55. I've always worked. I've never been out of work, touch wood. And I think it's because in the circles that I perform in, I always like to give the unexpected. I don't like obvious choices. I like to do things that are kind of thought-provoking. Even though drag has to be funny, I want people to laugh with me, not at me. And so consequently, at the end of this particular show that we're doing this season, I wanted to do something that was a little bit off the scale, by, you know, going on stage and doing a number where I remove my clothes and my makeup, and you know, you see the clown underneath, if you like. It's that old theatrical thing.
But do you think the audience understands? Because I didn't get it the first time I saw it. I didn't realise what you were about. But
I think they're expecting some sort of sequin and feather finale with everyone coming on, you know, as in some kind of glamorous gown. But I do think they get it. I mean, there's not much to get, really. You know, I'm sat there on stage, taking my makeup off and transferring from a woman to a man.
It's a very powerful song you sing. Where did that come from?
It was written by Charles Aznavour in about 1976 or something. I've always done it in my act. I was the first drag queen on the London gay scene to do it, and it was completely shocking in those days because people didn't expect it. In those days I was a lot slimmer and a lot younger, and I was like stripped down to practically nothing. I wouldn't do that now, not with my body, but in those days I did, and it was kind of shocking. And then, you know, just like every other drag queen on the drag circuit, all the other acts started doing it, and before you know it, it was a mainstay for most drag acts shows.
Once I realised what it was about, I realised how theatrical that part is. I mean, the whole show is very theatrical. There's some extraordinarily theatrical bits of it, but that especially hit me. Why do you think it is, if it is true, you're not mainstream theatre, are you? You're on the edges.
I've always thought of drag as acting. I've never thought of myself as a drag queen. I always think of myself as a drag performer, by virtue of the fact I am a gay man, but I go on stage with the same attitude as an actor would have if he was playing Hamlet. And that is that you're playing a character, whether you're miming, whether you're singing, you are still playing a character. You're not just going out there as a man dressed up in a dress. You're playing a character. So to me, going out there, whether I'm doing Liza Minnelli or whether I'm coming on stage at the end and taking my makeup off, it's still a character. It's still character based, and I always think of drag as theatre. I think.
Have you ever done straight theatre?
Oh God, my whole life. That's my background, is in theatre.
Really?
Yeah, I was. Oh God, where do I start? I've done loads. I started off my first kind of acting job, if you like, was I was in an advert with Patsy Kensit doing the pot peas that go, that one. So I was in that, but then at the age of 8 or 9, I was in the film version of Oliver, playing well, not really much playing anything really. I was one of the workhouse boys in the Glorious Food section. And then when I was 10, I went on to be in a London production of Oliver as the Artful Dodger. I think I was 12 actually. And then I got into adolescence and there weren't much going on. But then when I started doing drag at 17, it all kind of took off. I did a couple of West End musicals. I was in a show called Hot Stuff, which is a compilation musical about the 70s. Done a lot of theatre. Theatre's what I love. I also write a lot of plays. In fact, we're doing one here in Jersey in October at the Opera House.
What's that about?
It's called, well, it's semi-autobiographical. It's called Pink for a Boy, and it's about my life as a drag queen, but it's been fictionised. All the characters are real, but they've all been given anonymous names to protect the guilty. Yeah, and it's about my life in drag, but it's not specifically about me.
Without being too indelicate, how is that being financed? How are you doing?
Financing it myself. I finance everything myself. I've never borrowed money for things. I've put on shows at the Edinburgh Festival and in Canada and Canada comedy festivals, and the play itself was written in 1991 and it's been performed professionally 6 times. This will be the 7th incarnation of it.
And you appear in it? Or?
Yeah, I'm always in it. I always play the same part, which is loosely based on me, but isn't really. It's not really about me. It's the incidents in the play actually happened in my life, but not necessarily to me or about me. But all the incidents in the play happened in real life, so I've just fictionalised it.
I mean, Jersey's a bit of a backwater for lots of things, anything a little bit progressive.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you're here, is this because you find it safe here, or is it not too challenging, or is it challenging?
I like a challenge, and I do find Jersey quite of a challenge, to be honest, because, I've worked all around the world. And when I originally worked here at the Cosmopolitan in 2002 till 2006, we thought at the time it was a massive risk that the Jersey audiences wouldn't take to drag because it was a bit too out there, a bit too homosexual based, if you like. And I always felt at that time that Jersey was quite racist, quite homophobic. And so because of that reason I agreed to do it, because I like to do things that are going to shock people, and I like to do things where people say to me, you can't do that because it's too gay, or you can't do that because they won't get it. Then I would say, well, let's do it then, because I like to go against conventionality. I like to do things that other people wouldn't dare to do. So when I came to Jersey to do the Cosmopolitan, I had no idea for 1 minute that it would be as successful as it was, and the locals took us to their hearts. So when I had the opportunity to come back here at the Pier, because of the reputation the Cosmopolitan had and because of the reputation I had, I decided to come back.
The Cosmopolitan had a terrific atmosphere too, didn't it?
Yeah, something we're yet to find out here.
Oh, this building, this setting is magnificent.
It is nice. It is. I think a lot of people expect Cosmo. I don't know what they expect for it, but it has been going well. Last year, particularly, a bit better than this year, I think. I don't know if the novelty's wearing off or whatever, but yeah, it's like, people love men that dress up as women. They're always through history, since Shakespearean times through to kabuki theatre, and the likes of Lily Savage, Danny LaRue, Edna Everage, Injun Brackett. People love it. It's just an extension of pantomime, really.
What puzzles me a bit. I mean, there's a sort of a respectable end of it. Those people you've just mentioned. Obviously, for television, they've got to be a bit cleaner, and the costumes have got to be a bit more flamboyant. Yeah. But just looking at some of the stuff on the webs, on the internet, you can see there's great potential for some very strong political comment out there.
There is that potential if you want to be political about it, and I don't mind a little bit of politics at the end of my show to say, this is it, this is who we are, but at the end of the day, drag shouldn't be political, it should be funny, and people need to laugh. Not many people laugh anymore, they're too busy looking for meaning. Right.
Well, I was wondering,
and there's nothing wrong with just having a laugh, really, and that's how I see drag.
The strange thing was, in Jersey in the 70s, for a while, there were 3 or 4 or even more drag shows going on in Jersey, which was rather strange at that time, because it was quite challenging then. Yeah. Did you ever see any of those? Were you ever part of those?
I was never in Jersey at that time. Believe it or not, I was at school then. But no, I never came to Jersey. I know my nan used to come here every year on her holidays, and I was always a very theatrical kid. I was always putting shows on in my back garden at school, and my nan said to my mum, "Oh my God, David would love it in Jersey. Wherever you go, there's a show on." So when I came here eventually in 2002, I was quite upset to find out there were no shows on. This era that my nan was talking about had long since died, and I felt really sad about that. So, but on the flip side of that, because we were the only show that was on in the island, we could get away with murder because everything we did was brand new. So,
well, the lack of cabaret shows of any sort is quite extraordinary. I mean, it's not unique to Jersey.
No.
If you weren't here, could you tour? What would you do?
Oh, well, if I wasn't here, I mean, directly before coming here, I was the artistic director of a venue called the Birdcage in Manchester. Pretty much doing the same sort of thing, but on a more modern scale. Rather than doing Carmen Miranda and Barbra Streisand, we'd be doing Lady Gaga and Beyonce. And so it was done on a more modern scale.
You've mentioned Lady Gaga. Now, I know nothing about Lady, but presentation on stage in this show is quite striking. The costumes are brilliant, the routine's fabulous. Don't want to oversell you, but I was just so knocked out by it. Who dreamed it up? Where did it come from?
All the choreography in the show, all except one number, all the choreography and all the ideas are from my strange world of imagination. I just think if you're going to do a show about pop stars, which was my choice for the second show in our presentation, I just think you have to include Lady Gaga. I mean, she's screaming to be done. She's a drag queen's dream, really. Although in saying that, everyone thinks it's terribly modern to do Lady Gaga. I mean, I come from an era when walking around with two dials on your bosoms and a telephone on your head. We used to do that in pantomime long before Lady Gaga was even born. So it's nothing new. But yeah, it's a bit of fun, and I think, you know, as I said, if you're going to pick, it's very difficult to pick characters that people are going to recognise. You have to do people or incorporate people. When you're doing impersonations or stand-ups of people in your show, they have to be recognisable to the audience. Otherwise it becomes self-indulgent, I think. And I would never want to be accused of that. So, having heard how long you've been in theatre, I'm not surprised, but I've noticed how the technical precision of what you do on stage here, because the music, the show goes on, and you've got to be up with it. You've got to keep with it, haven't you? Yeah. It's like doing this kind of show. It's like being part of a video. It has to be the same every single night, because you are restricted to your soundtrack. Because I'd say 95% of the stuff we do here is lip synced. It's easier to do a lip sync show. I mean, I would rather do a live show because I'm a singer, and that's my background is, you know, singing, and whatever kind of performance is fine by me. I don't mind whether it's live singing or whether it's miming, as long as it's entertaining. That's the main ingredient has to be that it's fun for the audience. So you devise all the choreography, the whole scene, that's all you don't buy them in? No, nothing like that. All the costumes are made, nothing shop bought. Or I design all the costumes, I do set most of the wigs. I make some of the costumes, but not all of them. Some are beyond my capability, so I have a dressmaker in Manchester, Kevin, bless him, who makes stuff that I can't do. Everything's bought from scratch. It's very, very expensive. Oh, it's attractive. It's very expensive. It can work out quite a lot of money to put on a show, because everything has to be made from scratch. I won't go into a shop and buy, 4 matching outfits for a new look or something. It's got to be. I don't want to go on stage and see someone in the audience wearing what I'm wearing. And so it's all got to be new, and it's got to be designed, and it's got to be right for the characters we're playing. Some costumes are copied from movies and whatever.
Drag, is that strictly on stage for you? I mean, do you wear drag off stage?
I knew you was going to ask that. Let's get this intriguing. Let's get this clear right now. Drag performance in theatre or in pantomime or in a drag show like this, it's performance. I don't drag this into my private life, because I'm not a transsexual. I'm not a transvestite. I don't get any kind of kick or sexual pleasure in wearing high heels and stockings and wigs. It does nothing for me whatsoever. In fact, even now, as I'm scraping this makeup on my 55-year-old face, I find it uncomfortable. High heels are uncomfortable, tights are uncomfortable, bras are uncomfortable, wigs is like a balancing act. It's not a joy to do. I hope you don't think I'm sounding bitter, but at the end of the day, it's got these things around me now. These are my costumes, these are the tools of my trade. These aren't something I get some kind of sexual kick out of wearing. It's just that the answer to that is no.
I recently bought an 18th century outfit for a particular event, a historic event. Okay. And I must say it's very pleasurable to wear it.
But it's not a dress, is it? It's not a woman's outfit.
No, that's right.
It's a costume.
It's out of my era. That's right, it's a costume.
So, that's what these are. I mean, when people say to me, how much do you spend on your dresses? The first thing I say is, they're not dresses. They're costumes. They're the tools of my trade. They're not something I would wear in the street or go out in. I've never gone out in drag, because that's not who I am. I'm a performer. I'm not someone that gets a thrill out of putting on dresses at all. So that answers that question.
In one of the two of the songs in there is it's I Am Gay song. I forget the character. It looks like to me.
It's Annie.
Annie.
Yeah, Little Orphan Annie.
Orphan Annie.
Yeah.
Again, I use the expression political. It's not so much political, but it is a sort of a bit of a cry from the heart, isn't it?
I don't think in this day and age it's about that anymore. You know, gay people are accepted now. I mean, you know, you can make as many laws up as you like about gay liberation and gay equality, but you don't stop people's prejudices. You don't stop. If someone hates gays, they hate gays like they hate blacks or they hate Jews or whatever else they want to hate. And you can't take that away from anyone, no matter what laws you bring in. Homophobia, one thing and another, you know, there'll always be prejudices, and there'll always be people that hate gay people. But that song, Your Son Will Come Out Tomorrow, it's just a send-up. It's nothing political about it. It's us laughing at ourselves, saying you can laugh at us, but we have the first laugh, we have the last laugh. That's what that is.
Is the sort of the cutting edge, because the acceptability, is it diminishing? Are people out there, obviously they're accepting you more, but is it taking the edge off the theatrical side? If you understand.
I don't really care whether people accept me or not. I say to myself, this is what I do, this is my job. I'm an entertainer. Whether I'm singing as a man or dancing as a drag queen, I'm entertaining. And so I don't really care whether people accept it or not. What I say is, this is what we have on offer. If you like it, then join in the fun. If you don't like it, then you don't have to come. Right. So I don't really see it as any kind of political kind of statement. I just see it as entertainment.
Somebody suggested to me some years ago, and I thought they were talking rubbish, well, you could have a woman playing King Lear. But in theory, of course, you couldn't you?
Of course you could. I mean, you know, it's all about, it's about the performance. And if a woman can play King Lear better than a man, then why shouldn't a woman do it? Mm-hmm. If you're holding an audition for King Lear and a girl comes up and she's better than the man that's auditioned, then the girl should get the job. And I think that's very true. I mean, I've been in shows before, plays, where I've played a woman. I've not done it as a drag queen, I've done it as an actor playing a woman's role. And that is hard, because not only are you playing a character completely out of context who you are, but you're actually playing someone of the opposite sex, which is even harder. And you've got to play it for real. A friend of mine and me at the moment are writing a one-man play about the life of Anne Boleyn, who is my favourite historical character. And I'm going to be playing Anne Boleyn as a woman, not as a drag queen. Right. I'm not going to have all this amount of strap on. And you know, it's a challenge, and I love a challenge. Life's not worth anything if you're an entertainer without a challenge. Otherwise you just get stuck in a rut, and I'm no good at being stuck in a rut. I'm quite the opposite. I'm always out. I'm always looking out for the next thing. Always have that.
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I saw here a most extraordinary one-man show, I forget the guy's name now, but he was presenting about the case of his ex-wife who he'd taken off to Switzerland and she was going to kill herself. You couldn't imagine. Now, this was a comedian, and it was brilliant the way it was presented. It was not heavy.
I didn't see it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah. I mean, that sort of thing, it's so challenging. It's so, you think, well, that couldn't possibly be presented, but it can. It can be. These things can be presented.
Anything can be done if you've got the imagination to do it. You know, as Walt Disney once said, all the time you've got dreams, anything's possible. And that's true. I completely believe that. Because if you don't have a dream, what's the point in your life? You know, you're just here to exist. And I think you have to have something to aim at. I don't know what I'm aiming at, but I know I'm getting there. Because I've never stayed in the same job for too long. I like to move on to the next thing, whatever it may be. And life is exciting. You have to make the most of it. And when you're an entertainer, you have to face up to challenges and want to do other stuff. Otherwise you just get stuck in a rut, and that's no good for anyone.
The audience here, noticeably, the few times I've been here, has been predominantly female.
Yeah.
Is that predictable? Is that what normally happens?
Well, I don't know. I don't really think things have to fit into a sex. I think if it's entertaining, it's entertaining. I mean, most of my early career, I just worked in gay bars, and my audiences for years, until I was about 35, 40, were just gay men. But now, you know, you progress, you go on to other things, and you present your act to other people, and whether they're men or women, as long as they enjoy it, I don't really mind.
Now, I've been recording you for nearly 20 minutes, and you're still making up.
Yeah.
Now, is this is what happens every time you come on stage? This is what you have to do, make up.
Well, I couldn't go on without it, let's put it like that. It's a good job you're not interviewing Legs Up Lucy, because you'll be sat there for 4 hours. It takes forever to get ready. Really? 20 minutes, actually, is quite good. Most drag queens I know take about an hour, 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not as fussy as them. they do shading and highlighting and all that, and I just think as long as people can see you, that's the main thing. You don't need to go mad with the shading and the highlighting and all that.
And at what point, I mean, this must be the most stupid question you've ever asked, but at some point you must feel differently. Once the makeup goes on...
No, not really. I feel exactly the same. I start feeling different when the music starts, and then I know I've got to perform. When I hear the music, then I change to wherever I've got to be. If I'm calm and Miranda, you know, with all the fruit on my head, you know, that in itself is a balancing act before you even think about movement and dance routines. And then, you know, in the next breath, I'm going to be Betty Davis, who's a vile bitch. So you have to adapt, and I don't change. I stay exactly the same. It's not until I hear it's that whole thing Beryl Reid used to say, as soon as she puts the shoes on, she becomes the character. That never works for me. I don't become the character until I'm actually on the stage, and the rest of the time I'm out here, and I'm just me.
When you do in the Slacker season, you do a two-man show.
Yeah. Which one?
You did a show with Legs Up Lucy, I think. It was just the two of you in just.
Oh, yeah.
How do you feel the stage? Because there's only 4 of you in this show, but you feel the stage. But that must be very difficult with just 2 of you, mustn't it?
I think a lot of it has to do with your own confidence, and you have to go out and believe. You have to go out and believe that what you're doing is big enough. You know, I've been in shows in the theatre that holds 2,000 or 3,000 people, where I've been on stage by myself for 25 minutes, and it's, you know, if people, they have to come along for the journey, they have to come along for the ride. If they don't get it, they don't get what you're doing, there's no point in you being there, whether there's 1 of you or whether there's 50 of you. It depends on the size of the performance and what you're offering for them. It's like, as I said, you know, come along for the ride, and if you don't like the ride, then get off the ride. It's as simple as
for that, do you wear outrageous costume exactly the same, or?
It depends on the character I'm playing. You know, some characters not all the costumes I wear are outrageous. I mean, I think a lot of people have a preconceived idea that if you do drag, the costumes, everything has to be outrageous. It's not particularly true. It depends on the character. When I'm Carmen Miranda, I'm head to toe in fruit and frills, but when I'm Betty Davis, I'm in a plain green taffeta dress. So it depends on the character. It's not so much what you're wearing, it's about the performance.
The Bette Davis one has got a cruel aspect to it because of the wheelchair, which again it strikes. Again, that must shock some people, mustn't it?
But that's what I like, shocking people.
Right.
That's what I get a big kick out of that. You know, I sort of tend, as most gay men, we kind of veer towards evil women. We like the Joan Crawfords, the Joan Collins, the Wicked Queens, the Bad Fairies, the Wicked Witches of the West. We gear towards those kind of characters, you know, and those are the characters that I find the most rewarding to play, really, because it's not a challenge. Maybe that's because I'm evil to start with. I don't think I am, but I think that this isn't your interview, darling. You'll be interviewed later. Edit that.
No, it's not right.
Don't need snide remarks in the background.
Big camp in the dressing room, dear.
It's not. This is an interview. This isn't camp in the dressing room.
Okay then.
Back to me.
Back to her.
Camp in the dressing room seems to come in later.
Okay.
When you've used the word camp, what is camp all about? Why is it that gay men talk in it? What's about camp? Why is it?
I don't believe there's such a thing as camp. I believe there's straight men with a sense of humour, but a gay man with a sense of humour is instantly thought of as being camp, and I don't think that's fair. There is camp. There's camp in everything, in everyday things. It's just that I think a lot of gay people, they get the camp. Straight people don't understand what camp is.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? They have a preconceived idea of camp. Their idea of camp is Graham Norton or you know, but my idea of camp would be like Betty Davis giving a dead rat on a plate to Joan Crawford, where most people would find that horrifying. I think it's hilarious. And that's where my humor
I want to get out of here alive, but all women are
Darling,
camp.
you will be, don't worry. What? All women are what?
Are camp in a way because of the. I mean, they are.
All women are camp.
They are. They are.
Is that all women are camp and all men aren't?
Well, I don't know. That's why I used to think that.
And there's some really uncamp women that are boring as hell. I think a lot of movie stars of a certain era define the word camp. I don't think we have those movie stars anymore. we have no more personalities. I mean, in America in the 30s, 40s, 50s and 60s and 70s, there was always some camp woman that as a drag queen we could take and blow out of proportion.
Right.
By today's standards, we don't have them movie stars anymore. You couldn't do Nicole Kidman, you couldn't do Jane Horrocks, you couldn't do Gwyneth Paltrow, you couldn't do Kate Winslet. There's nothing to do.
No.
But in the old days, you know, and the days when movies were camp, you could do Carmen Miranda, you could do Betty Davis, Marilyn Monroe, Judy Garner, Marlene Dietrich. The list is endless. But now you can't. Now the women that you do
Well, they're very.
are based entirely on their costumes.
They're
more
mostly
than-
girly film stars these days. They were
They're not
very,
girl- but
they, very
now, you
women.
mean?
They were very womanly. They were very womanly.
They
I'll
were
take-
powerful women with a
Yeah,
strong message,
that's,
and they were strong, powerful, independent, kind of dominating women. The Barbra
that's right.
Streisands and the Barbara Stanwicks of the world, and the Marlene Dietrichs and the Gloria Swansons no longer exist. Now we've got these wishy-washy kind of, you know, Kate Winslet, who's nice, Helena Bonham Carter, people like that, and they're like, what can you do? You can't. So we're stuck with people like Lady Gaga and Madonna, and that's as much, you know, these days that's all we can really do. Which is why in my shows I tend to go down the nostalgia trip, because people I think are entertained by the old stars of yesteryear, and it's a nostalgic trip, and also it's an observation by us as to what we find funny in what would normally be a kind of serious performer like Barbra Streisand, for instance. You know, Barbra Streisand's definitely serious, but as gay men we kind of get the whole Barbra Streisand deal. We get that she's a diva, and she's like, you know, and that comes over in the performance, as well as the fact that she's big ugly. And though most people think Barbra Streisand has a striking beauty, I think she's got a face like a bag of spanners. And so when I do Barbra Streisand, I make sure I look, you know, I do all that. And because if you look at the movie stars of that era, they weren't particularly beautiful. I guess this is only in my opinion, you know, Liza Minnelli and Barbra Streisand and Betty Davis, they're not beautiful women, but there's something about the persona that says, oh my god, I'm a drag queen, I must do her.
You'll be glad to know, for the little bit of preparation for this, I looked at Cabaret, the film, several times just to get the feeling. And I'd never realised that Liza Minnelli couldn't dance at all to save her life.
Well, you're absolutely wrong, because Liza Minnelli is a trained dancer.
Well, she looked terrible. She didn't move at all in that.
Did you not see Mine Hair? The number on the chair?
Yes.
Try doing that.
Well, I don't say she's not, but she wasn't. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but she didn't move like a dancer to my perception. But she
then
was.
Sally Bowles
She
wasn't
was
a
the
dancer, she was a
perfect
singer. Yeah.
person for the character she was playing. I sat there and I was amazed how perfect she was.
Yeah, she was. She won an Oscar for that. And Liza, Cabaret. I've got to be honest. You mentioning Cabaret was the film that made me want to be a drag queen.
Really?
It was watching Cabaret, and I saw Cabaret, and I saw Liza Minnelli do Mine Hair with the bowler hat and the stockings in the chair, and I said, that's what I want to do.
But it was the whole visual image of her doing that, and the music was just
It's the seedy Cabaret-esque backstage thing. Yeah, there's a lot. Liza Minnelli has a lot to answer for. That film Cabaret has a lot to answer for when it comes to drag acts, and that whole thing. There's a lot of movies that kind of.
And of course, it's rather late because I've got a political bent. The political theme that runs through the film. It's it's horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible, but she's completely oblivious to it in the movie, and it's all about her. It's all about Sally Bowles. She's not interested in politics, and that's like the underscore of the film. And I love the fact also that all the songs in the film represent something that's going on at the time. And I think that's very clever. I also like the fact it's not a musical that suddenly bursts into song.
Exactly.
And I like the fact the
music is there, it belongs there.
It belongs on the stage.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfectly done. Masterpiece.
Yeah.
Masterpiece of film.
8 Oscars.
It was 8 Oscars. Yes, I should be watching it again. I'm going to stop now because it's not that I've run out of questions.
I'm done. This is it.
I'm just running out of film.
Film, dear? What era are you in? You're not digital.
Well, we like to. It sounds
We're running out of film and cut.
It sounds out grander if it's film, doesn't it? I'm most grateful to you.
Thank you, darling.
I'm going to try and get your soliloquy. Trying to get your soliloquy on. The first bit I've missed both times I've filmed it, so I'm going to.
Okay. Next time you film me so close, could you put a duvet in front of the lens, please, or a sheet of liner so I come over a little bit softer? I'm trying to hide my 55 years under.
Well, the way you bounce about on that stage, you're not doing too bad.
Yeah, my poor back plays for it the next day, but it's worth it. That showbiz kid, you have to suffer for glamour.
Thank you. We ought to go on for another hour. Thanks for your time.
See ya.